Good evening, I'm KHEO Meteorologist Chris Ramirez. We are tracking the tropics as we head into August and eventually September, which is the peak of hurricane season. And the good news, though, is that we're not expecting any activity in the Atlantic basin, at least for the next 7 days. The tropics in the Atlantic have just been very quiet. We had Bertha, we had Arthur, which were named tropical storms, but they were very weak systems that moved through actually southeast Texas. The center of those storms actually went right over Houston, but they were very severely tilted where all the rain was just well away from the center of those storms. And we're expecting just really no activity for the next 7 days. We have a bit of Saharan dust out in the Atlantic basin. We do have another plume moving off the African coast. And then we also have a plume that's making its way across portions of the Caribbean islands, San Juan, Puerto Rico, as well as there's the Bermuda High that really is kind of sucking up all that dust in portions of the Atlantic. But we can expect to see some of this dust and these little slight plumes to move through the Gulf into the Caribbean, at least for the coming days. And that's just going to keep things mostly quiet across the Atlantic basin. However, we are tracking the Pacific Ocean, which we are seeing Hurricane Genevieve, which has gusts up to 90 miles an hour. It's moving west-northwest at 15 miles an hour. This storm is over open water. It is not going to pose a threat to any land masses, and it's just going to remain a fish storm here for the next few days. West-northwest movement at 15 miles an hour. As we take a look at the forecasted track of Genevieve, it's going to eventually weaken into a tropical storm and eventually a tropical depression, and just really not posing a threat to any land masses, especially Hawaii. We have Hawaii just right there, and they were being impacted by actually indirect impacts from post-tropical storm Fausto, which traveled north of the Hawaiian Islands, but that have fizzled out and weakened. But just keep in mind that when we have systems that are just, off the Mexican coast and the Pacific Ocean, it really does send a lot of wind shear our way, especially across the Gulf. So that really does a great job at keeping those systems weak and non-active, especially as we head into hurricane season. And we see quite a bit of wind shear, which wind shear is wind speeds at the upper levels of the atmosphere. So of course, when you have those surface winds, you have the mid-level winds and you have upper level winds, they can be at different speeds. And so when you have fast upper level wind speeds, that is called wind shear, and that does a great job at tearing systems apart. And so we have a high pressure system that's currently centered over Texas. We also have those upper level winds that are just really moving pretty fast that will really just break apart any system that is going to be moving into the Gulf. So as long as you have that wind shear, which is you see right there with the turquoise colors, that really is going to play a role at preventing tropical systems from forming. So when it comes to a normal type storm, just to kind of reiterate what wind shear does, this is a normal hurricane. Hurricanes really do need a vertical stacked column of air, and usually this convection just kind of cycles through it. And so as long as it's currently straight vertical, which means straight up and down, that's when storms actually start gaining strength. They are able to cycle through the different eye wall replacement cycles and eventually become stronger. But when you have that wind shear, remember what I said about wind shear is when you have those upper level wind speeds, the storm becomes severely tilted. So what usually happens is that you have upper level winds. The center of the storm could be in one location. You could have sunny skies on one side of the storm, but then that rain, the storm will be well away from the center of the storm. And that's what we saw with, of course, Bertha and Arthur here for the past couple of months. But wind shear, really good news in terms of tropics because it prevents those hurricanes and those tropical systems, tropical storms from becoming somewhat of a problem for us. So as we head into August, these are the August development areas. And so any disturbance that will form out in this region, which is just to the east of the Leeward Islands, these are the pretty much the tracks that they could take as they move into the Caribbean. So even though that this is pretty far away from southeast Texas, so we have to keep an eye on this region heading into August because usually sometimes they can continue their track into the Caribbean islands and eventually into the Gulf, which is a threat to us. But often if they take more of that northerly track, they'll be off over open water and across the East Coast U.S., especially for August. And then September, a different situation. We have the peak of hurricane season when most of the activity happens. We've had quite a bit of historical storms that have happened in the months of September. We had Rita, Katrina, we had Ike happening in the months of September. And so usually the development areas, if you have any disturbance that could happen just north of South America, they could really just make more of that northerly track into the Gulf. And then usually we also have to keep an eye on the same area, especially in the Caribbean, as well as depending on these steering currents that happen. When I say steering currents, usually they're high pressure systems like the heat dome that we're dealing with currently. So as we take a look at the historical tracks for the months of August and September, this is what we are looking at. This is the September hurricanes. We've had 16 landfalling hurricanes between 1900 and 2021, and that's just kind of showing you that when you combine the August and September hurricanes, we've had a total of 29 landfalling hurricanes within 100 miles of Houston between 1900 and 2021, which is really gives us the peak of hurricane season, which is happens in September of here in the next couple of months. So as we take a look at the tropics closer towards that date, we have to really just still keep our eyes peeled, but we are in El Nino period, which El Nino really does a great job at also giving us that wind shear and making us really not have a less active hurricane season. As far as your peak date, September 10th, we are getting closer to that date as we head into August into September, but we take a look at all the names for this year. We've only crossed off Arthur and Bertha. We still have quite a bit of names to go, so let's hopefully that we don't see any more named storms. And if we do see a named storm, hopefully it's just well over open water and not posing a threat to land anytime soon. The only thing that we're gonna have to keep an eye on is the heat and the humidity that is going to really not go away anytime soon here across the Houston area, especially as we head into the start of August. This is your look at your 7-day forecast. We are expecting those temperatures to remain mostly just hot and sweltering, at least for the next few days. We do have a isolated chance for a storm or two for Saturday and Sunday. This is all a part of a very weak frontal system that's going to make its way in from the north. That is going to really bring probably a storm or two for some locations. So not everybody's going to receive rain. Some of us might be fortunate enough to get a bit of a cool down. But for the most part, those high temps, 99 to 100 degrees, especially for the next few days. Overnight lows in the 70s and 80s. And I think we're going to see that daily isolated rain chance for much of next week as well. But nothing widespread and nothing that's going to really prevent you from doing those outdoor plans or maybe pool party plans, because I feel like you want to be near a pool or maybe along the coast in Galveston as we soak up these last few weeks before school starts. So the good news is that we're expecting mostly quiet conditions for tomorrow and into the first part of our weekend, and the only thing they really keep an eye on is this little bit of a frontal boundary that's making its way in from the north that will bring a chance for some showers, maybe a storm or two, especially as we head into this weekend. That's that frontal boundary that's making its way in. And I know it's a cold front, but just keep in mind that cold fronts during this time of year here in Houston is usually going from the hundreds to mid-90s in some locations. So that's a Houston version of a cold front for the summertime season. So as far as your 7-day forecast, just to wrap this all up as we head into the next few days, just stay hydrated. Might want to practice those heat safety measures. Just limit your time outdoors, as well as take frequent breaks, wear that sunscreen, as well as giving yourself those breaks and looking before you locking. Look before you lock when it comes to heat safety and with children and pets. So highs in the 90s and 100s, lows in the 70s and 80s. Chance for an isolated storm or two for the weekend, but we're going to see mostly sunny skies for much of the day heading into the next few days. And of course, that's our tropics and weather update. That's all I have for you for this evening. Make sure to tune in just a little under an hour for the KHU 11 News at 10 p.m. Along with Mia Gradney, we are going to give you the latest news and weather headlines here in the next just about 50 minutes. Have a good and safe rest of your day.